Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for October 28th through November 3rd, 2024. So we are wrapping up October this week. I can't believe it. Everything is going so quickly. And we are, of course, as I talked about last week, we are in Scorpio season. So Scorpio season is a time in the zodiac calendar where for 4 weeks, we do a lot of inner exploration. And I talked a lot about that last week, and definitely go back and listen to it, but I'll illuminate a little bit more. And we're not just in Scorpio season this week. It's Halloween, it's Samhain, it's Day of the Dead, a time when our ancient ancestors knew that there was this transition between something. Well, at least astronomically, we are in the midpoint almost. We're in the midpoint between the equinox and the solstice. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in between the fall equinox, the autumn equinox, and the winter solstice. Of course, I know we have friends in the Southern Hemisphere, a little bit of a different seasons, but again, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we are getting to that time of year where the days are growing darker, and we are getting to that point with the winter solstice, at least, where we welcome the return of the light. So we're in that space between that sort of cross point, which is the middle of Scorpio season, which isn't quite the October 31st or no, November 1st anymore. The real Halloween, quote unquote, the midpoint of the sign is actually closer to November 7th and 8th. Why? That's a whole other big conversation, but because the sky is still moving, and it's moving at a very incremental pace. It's something called the precession of the equinoxes. Back a long time ago, maybe a couple of thousand years ago, 15 Scorpio, the middle of Scorpio lined up with the 1st of November. So not so much anymore. Now, again, it's about a week later, but doesn't mean that we don't have that sort of cultural memory, that we are in a time where we honor those who have passed on, that the veil is thinner, that we're in this place of transition, and however you want to celebrate that, of course. So we're also coming to the end of the month, and by the end of this week, we will have a very powerful Scorpio new moon. That's a word that I don't want to underestimate. Not just because it's in Scorpio, but because the new moon has Mars opposite Pluto, which I will talk about. So yeah, we're going to go into a very interesting November. And because we are wrapping up a lunar month, we are mostly in the dark of the moon this week, which means it's time to reflect, a time to go within, time to consult our inner awareness, our intuition, to meditate, and then to prepare for something new. And it also means that we are coming to the end of a lunar month that was started with a solar eclipse. So in fact, this week when the moon goes into Libra on Tuesday, October 29th, we have come full circle since that solar eclipse, that powerful solar eclipse. So anyway, before I go too far in, I'd just like to reintroduce myself. My name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium located here in, I was going to say New York City area, but I'm not there right now. I'm in the rolling hills of Central Maryland, and every week we gather live to look at the astrology, and you hear me say every week, the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%, because the astrology is just time. It's the energy of time. It's how we live time. And as I was talking about earlier, we're in the passage of seasons, and seasons are both literal. If you could see outside my window, you would see various shades of orange and gold and red, because we are coming to that point at the end of the growing season, the end of the season before winter. And then also there's the metaphoric seasons, the seasons of life that we all have, the passages that we all have to take. It's just a part of life. And that's why I spoke about last week when I tried to frame Scorpio as an archetype to my clients. And even if you know a little bit more astrology, the energy of the 8th house, which I like to call the 8th room, it marks this time where we need to face ourselves. And I know that that's, everybody's going to hit the pass button, and I wish it were that easy, but we are here to grow and evolve. I don't know, maybe you feel differently, and that's fine. But Scorpio teaches us that we are here to grow and evolve. And if life were always the same, if there were no change of seasons, if every day was easy, we would not grow. If we never looked within, we would not grow. And so this is a season, this is where the part is, 50% is you. Like, you have your own life, you have your own history, your experiences, you have your own sense of inner awareness and the work that you've done, or maybe you haven't done any work, and that's fine. Scorpio, and this is why astrology is a wheel. If we don't sort of jump on the wheel this time of year, we always have next year, hopefully. So Scorpio says that this is a time collectively when we can experience this energy and we can use it to look within, to contemplate our lives, to get into themes of intimacy, vulnerability, trust. These are all Scorpio themes. And Scorpio season, I spoke a little bit about this last week, brings us to the element water. In astrology, there are 12 zodiac signs. Of these 12 zodiac signs, there are 4 elements. There's fire, there's earth, there's air, and there's water. Always in that sequence. We start the zodiac with fire, we end the zodiac with water, and there are these 3 different stages in the zodiac where we get to say Cancer, the first of the water signs, but the last of that first stage, and then we transition into Leo, fire sign. So water to fire. We will see that again from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Water to fire. We're not in Sagittarius season yet, although this week, it's on the 2nd of November, Mercury will go into Sagittarius. So that's our first sign that we are, sort of reaching towards Sagittarius, even though we're not quite there yet with the sun. So we need water as an element because water is the energy that takes the information of air. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and gives it meaning, allows it to feel deeper, to form a memory, and to create emotion, and even to create emotional bonds. And I think I spoke about this last week as well. Libra season, Libra as a sign, it's just relationships, it's socialization and connection. And I'm sure we all have those very surface, breezy, hey, how are you, level, wave the hand to the neighbor type of relationship, but there's nothing deeper. That's where Scorpio comes in. That's where element water in Scorpio, as a reminder, is a water sign. And water talks about the passage of time and seasons, and sometimes the grief that comes when we make these transitions from one stage of our life to another. It's very natural. It's natural to have feelings when we move or we go from one stage of life to another. So Scorpio gets into all that deep emotional, sometimes it's very subconscious. We don't quite realize why we're feeling something, or perhaps even why we've stopped trying to feel something. So there's a sense of inner exploration, discovery, and that necessary inner search, because the revelation of water brings us to the energy of fire, which we will get to in Sagittarius season. I personally really love the interplay between water and fire, because fire is the spark of awareness. It's life. It's especially with Sagittarius, it's wisdom, it's knowledge. And Sagittarius is the fire of the stars. It's the fire that illuminates and inspires and motivates us to make our lives better, to search, to explore, to learn. But all of that needs Scorpio. Scorpio is sort of it's an emotional silt. It's not the fertility of Taurus, its opposite sign. It's an emotional fertility that allows this illumination to happen when we reach Sagittarius. So mark this season however you feel is appropriate. Like I said, it's a water season. We have Mars presently, although not for much longer, in Cancer, which is also a water sign. As you heard me say a few moments ago, it's the first water sign. The last water sign is Pisces. And Mars gets into more of that primal emotion. I need to feel safe. I want to be held. I want to be, all these sort of emotions that we associate with early childhood and early memory. That's very Mars and Cancer. And also because Scorpio is a fixed sign, there are 4 fixed signs in the zodiac. They are Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. It's a sign that has a big energy of stability and security. And if you know Scorpio, typically like they can be with you to the bitter end. They can hold on to things to the bitter end, but they typically are really great as a sign to hold space. I realize that, people are various and you've had your own experiences with Scorpios, but it is an energy typically that's really great to hold space for other people. And to hold space is to hear them, to listen, to witness, not to take on, and to help them transition from one state to another, because Scorpio has a superpower in order to be able to stand in a place that most people cannot. Even if you're not a Scorpio, you have Scorpio somewhere in your zodiac sign. This will be a little bit more evident when I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs in a moment, and we talk about this Scorpio new moon. So we have a lot of water energy, and I wanted to throw in the comments about fire because sometimes water can be very heavy. We have Mars in Cancer, and then the other side of Mars in Cancer, apart from being very fiercely protective and wanting to protect those they love and fight for what it believes in, the other side of Mars in Cancer is stuck in the past. We're really feeling some deep emotions that are maybe arising from that subconscious and perhaps even unconscious memory. And maybe it's not even ours, maybe it's ancestral, maybe it's, sort of passed on from a parent, for example. And then that it can get very heavy. It can get a little too nostalgic, a little too stuck in the past. And we need that fire energy to bring us out of the heaviness of water. So if you're feeling that heaviness of water right now, light a candle. Little tea light, keep it, running safely, of course. Sit with its energy, sit with the energy of fire, and allow these 2 elements, water and fire, to illuminate something within. And that's the real true depth of Scorpio, is that we really can have some deeper illumination during the season, especially with this powerful Scorpio new moon on November 1st. So let's talk about that. Just, little background information for those that don't know. Every 4 weeks, we have a new moon. That new moon goes consecutively from each of the 12 zodiac signs. I say typically because sometimes you will get a new moon in the same sign. That's if one new moon is at the beginning and one new moon is at the end. It's not common, but it happens. But typically we have that progression, that consecutive progression throughout the lunar calendar within the zodiac. And so we had a new moon 4 weeks ago. That new moon was on October 2nd. However, that new moon happened to be a solar eclipse. Now, solar eclipses don't happen every month. They happen every 6 months. So we are in a chapter of time that sort of encompasses that Libra new moon solar eclipse October 2nd all the way to the Aries new moon solar eclipse of, I think it's March 29th of 2025. And within this umbrella of time that's about Libra relationships, connections, socialization, this new moon brings us to a subchapter that's about trust, intimacy, vulnerability. We all have different relationships, and I realize we're human beings, and sometimes relationships can get a little bit complicated, a little bit easy, a little bit not easy. We got our history, got our past. And so that said, this new moon is going to bring up themes about vulnerability and the importance of looking not just inward, but to get into that really powerful, vulnerable space with somebody that we trust, and somebody who's, of course, worthy of our trust, because Scorpio can sometimes have really sharp boundaries, especially when somebody does not honor that trust and honor that vulnerability. So this new moon will be also on the 1st of November. It'll be at 9 degrees of Scorpio. So if you are born on November 1st, plus or minus a day or two, It is a new year of new beginnings. That's this energy of the new moon is bringing you into this new year. Even if you are not born on November 1st, if you're a Scorpio, that energy brings that reset into your season, even if your birthday is much later in the sign. So for all of us, Scorpio is somewhere in our astrology because you are a sun sign, but you have the 11 other signs around you. And Scorpio could be a career sign, it could be health, it could be relationship, it could be family, it could be education. It really depends on your personal astrology, whether your sun sign or your rising. And so that area of your life will see a new moon. It will see a new beginning and a new chapter, and one that may pull again at themes around trust and intimacy and vulnerability. And Scorpio is also a power sign when its energy is used positively, meaning not destructively. Destructively is, I just want to burn everything down and I don't care, how it affects other people. And Scorpio can do that. Positively, it wants to use this energy for personal alchemy. It's like, I want to be a better person. I want to go from the Scorpio to the Phoenix to the Eagle. And the Eagle represents this transcendence that's Scorpio, but it's also for all of us that we can do to transcend that part of ourselves that is more destructive. Because that's the other thing about Scorpio, is that Scorpio really shows us the power of duality, that we have both inside of us. It's normal, but at the same time, it is to become aware, to take consciousness of these two sides of us, the part of us that can be destructive and the part of us that can be very constructive, very alchemical. So we can use this energy to become the eagle through the path of the Phoenix. This new moon also highlights Mars opposite Pluto. So as I was saying earlier, Mars is in Cancer. Mars is actually about to wrap up its time in Cancer. It will go into Leo on November 3rd, so Sunday. I'm going to talk more about that next week. But what Mars is doing is making an opposition to Pluto. This, by the way, will be the last opposition between Mars and Pluto in Cancer Capricorn for 250 years. Just a little side note. But Mars, we will have 2 more Mars oppositions in 2025. Those will be between Leo and Aquarius. That said, what's Mars? Mars is desire, it's power, it's strength, it's fortitude. It can be, you can climb mountains, it can move mountains, it can also be destructive because, again, duality. And then there's Pluto. Again, duality. Pluto is an evolutionary planet. Pluto has 2 sides of it. It can completely destroy something, but sometimes it needs to be destroyed. It can also create that alchemy to turn lead into gold, to turn shadows into light. That is the evolution into evolutionary, that's not even a word in English, powers of Pluto, for example. This is that last, in a way, gasp of the Pluto and Capricorn era. It's been 16 years of Pluto and Capricorn, all the way since January of 2008. It's also a reminder that we are in between 2 eras. I know that's a big statement, but Pluto has been back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius since 2023. And we will look back at this time and we will see that we are between 2 things, that we're in a transition collectively. With Mars opposite Pluto, this becomes this energy that colors the Scorpio new moon, and a new moon period is 4 weeks. This will take us into the beginning of November. And it says to each and every one of us, how are we going to use this energy? Are we going to use it to destroy something? I'm making that in air quotes because it's a metaphor, it's a symbolism. Or are we using it for personal alchemy, to put light into shadows, to turn lead into gold, to see ourselves differently, and to sometimes change something irrevocably? That's the power of Pluto. It can change something irrevocably, meaning there is no going back. So if there's something that you need to change in your life, make the intention that this is the month that you make that change, because you have the Mars-Pluto energy to irrevocably change it. that's your choice, or use it differently. It's up to you. So we have this energy, and I always think of Mars and Pluto. In fact, if you look at the charts of athletes, side note, you'll see very often big Mars-Pluto connections, because it shows that you need that energy of power and drive, and even healthy competition, of course, to keep going as a professional athlete. So this is an energy that we can sort of step into and to really use it to get to where we need to get to move mountains this week, or not just this week, but also this lunar month. So it is an intense energy. That's why I wanted to spin it, not to put a rose-colored glass on it, but to spin it in a way that we can use it constructively and positively, because we might see these shades of energy of, an opposition is confrontational. It just is. And having to find the balance between two things, Mars opposite Pluto. But again, we will see it differently depending on our own personal astrology. Again, when we go through each 12 signs, we'll see a little bit more about what it could become. And because this is the first of 3 aspects that takes us into April of 2025, this is a part of a story that will play out over the next, goodness, like 5-6 months, for example. So sit in this energy, meditate on it, reflect on it. Mars and Pluto typically is very physical. Perhaps we use it to take action positively in our lives, to create physical activity, to build strength, to have our courage, to face ourselves, to face our quote-unquote demons, to face our darkness. We all have that. Again, Scorpio's duality. In order to make this really powerful change. And this can be something that even takes us into the new year. Also this week, as I said, Mars, let me step back for a second, because I have the dates written down for Mars opposite Pluto. So in addition to the opposition on November 3rd, this will be at 29 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn. We will have the second opposition on January 3rd of 2025. This will be at 1 degree of Leo and Aquarius. And then the last opposition will be all the way in April 26th. April 26th of 2025, and this will be at 3 degrees of Leo in Aquarius. The reason we have these 3 oppositions is because on December 6th, Mars will turn retrograde. This will be another conversation for another time. Every 2 years, Mars turns retrograde, but it says that we're going into a new year where we can't just like hit the gas pedal. When we get into January 1, we need to go back, we need to rewind. That's just the way that it works. We need to change how we use our energy of action and power and drive and motivation, and to make that personal transformation that may play out into April of 2025. Goodness, what year is it? It's 2024. So that is your look at the astrology of this week. We'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs so you can hopefully rediscover where Scorpio is in your astrology. So we'll start with Aries. Aries, so Scorpio is your 8th sign. So everything that I said in the introduction, even what I said last week, is worth reviewing, because this is the time in your personal calendar where you go within. The 8th is this space where you will be tested by life, or maybe you look inward, or maybe you get into that deep emotional material, or maybe you're navigating themes of trust and control. And maybe you're looking to make a powerful transformation, and even an irrevocable transformation, because that's the energy of Mars and Pluto, which I was talking about in the introduction. Mars rules you. So meaning wherever Mars is in the sky, whatever Mars is doing, whatever aspect Mars is making, ripples back to you. You are an Aries or Aries rising, and Mars is in Cancer. It's been in Cancer since I think the beginning of September. I kept saying like July last week in my astrology, but I was completely wrong. I was thinking of Mars and Gemini. But anyway, Cancer for you is a sign of home and family, but it's also the past, its memory, its roots, its foundations. And so that could be a place where this sense of needing to make an irrevocable change, a necessary, powerful change. You have Pluto at the top of your chart. You've had Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn is the top of your chart since in its career since 2008. I know. all the way since January 2008. So this is like the culmination of a lot of work, a lot of life experience, and a lot of transformation around power, transformation around ambition, your role in the world, your relationship with duty and responsibility. And so there's been this build up throughout October, plus the energy of eclipses. And then here we are. So the Scorpio new moon says, hopefully this joke lands, it's like the call is coming from inside the building, meaning sometimes it's you. It's not the world. It's not this other person. Maybe it's you. I don't know, just something to think about. And that's the beauty of a Scorpio, is that it will show the mirror. It will hold the mirror to us. We will see like, oh, right, it's me. And with that realization becomes the spark of awareness that then you can use the Mars and Pluto to make this big transformation. I know I'm putting a lot of emphasis and you know, we'll see how this plays out on a personal level, but that's the thing about transformation, and especially because Mars is such a physical sign. It's like if you might be feeling it in your body, you might be feeling this sense of push and pull and build up. So what are you going to do? And since Mars and Pluto, or Mars in particular, is a very physical energy, go for a walk, go for a run, lift some weights, whatever is, of course, right for you in order to kind of get this energy moving. Because it does talk about action, it does talk about you, and it does talk about needing to look at yourself, to see something more deeply so you can make a big change. And all of that rests within the energy of the Scorpio new moon, which is your 8th. And so it is bringing up a lot of emotional material over the next 4 weeks, but this says that November can be a powerful time for you. Taurus. So Venus is your planet. So right now Venus is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is something called your 8th sign. The 8th sign kind of plays off of some of the things that I've been talking about Scorpio, because Scorpio is the 8th sign, just so happens to be that Sagittarius is your 8th sign. And also talking about this need to do the inner work while Venus is in Sagittarius. The inner work means to face yourself, to look within, to look at hidden motivations, themes of power, trust, and vulnerability. Also matters of faith, and not just the faith of religion, but the faith to keep going, the faith to make a leap of faith, the faith to transcend yourself. And that said, Venus, and this was more the square was today, but it's playing out throughout this week. Venus squares Saturn. So Venus is your ruler, and it squares Saturn this week. And it says that with the square to Saturn, there might be a decision that needs to be made. You need to take a step up. You need to take on more responsibility. You need to set a boundary. You need to get very clear. There's a sobriety to Saturn. There's maturity to Saturn. And maybe it's an emotional milestone. Maybe it's a milestone within yourself. Maybe it's something about trust and intimacy and vulnerability. And it sounds a little bit like that Scorpio new moon, because Scorpio is your relationship sign. So this is the time in your personal calendar where the spotlight is on relationships, people coming into your life, new beginnings in relationship, a need to focus on other people, and certainly to focus on the primary relationships in whatever form that they are in your life. With Mars opposite Pluto, it's a very dynamic and a bit intense energy going into this new moon, and even going into November. For you, this is pushing and pulling around communication. Maybe you need to have a conversation, maybe you with somebody or some people, plural. Maybe you need to communicate differently. Maybe you need to open up your heart. Maybe you need to get very clear about something. Because there's no artifice, there's no sugarcoating with Mars and Pluto, certainly in what's called the 3rd and the 9th. And so this might be a very powerful week for conversations, conversations with a partner or a loved one, and especially about values and faith and belief, and making sure that you and somebody else are on the same page. Gemini. Gemini, Mercury is your planet and it's wrapping up its time in Scorpio this week. In fact, on November 2nd, it'll go into Sagittarius, which is your relationship sign. Before that can happen, Mercury has been in something called your sixth. So on a very nuts and bolts level, this has been a time to get organized, to get clean up, to take, sort of look at the systems that run your day-to-day life, your schedule, maybe even health and wellness, and maybe even the connection between your physical environment and your emotional environment, or maybe the connection between the body and the emotional body, for example. Mercury is making an opposition to Uranus this week. It will oppose Uranus, and I'm just sort of saying that, so maybe there's a need for a breakthrough this week. Maybe, especially around health and wellness, or how you take care of yourself, or the inner workings of why you're feeling a certain way. Uranus talks about a need for a breakthrough or to break away from something from the past. Then Mercury goes into Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a relationship sign, and so you will go into a November where on some level it's about other people, connection, interaction, and even socialization. That said, that Scorpio new moon pulls you back into the sixth for the next 4 weeks. It says that really to look at your day-to-day life, to get organized, to clean things out. Scorpio is a natural purger. It's like, why am I still holding on to this? And that's the joke about, my joke at least, about Scorpio, is that it will let go of something when it's good and ready. And so maybe it's time to be ready, because sometimes Scorpio can really hold on to something longer than it really needs to. So you can use this constructively. You can clean things out. You can clean out the medicine cabinet. You can clean out the fridge. You can do this on a deeper level and look at your life and the people in your life and sort of how your decisions are cultivating your life. And maybe that's where some of the changes can be. This could be a new moon to start a project, to focus on your work, to focus on service. With the Mars opposite Pluto, Mars, so I gotta do some quick astrology math. So this is between what's called your second and your eighth. So this may be bringing up themes around value, money, income, and also self-worth and value, safety, stability, security. Do I have enough? Can I trust this person? It's for you to see how this is relevant in your life. You will have also Mercury making a trine to Neptune. So this is a week to also, don't forget to listen to your intuition, to cultivate some downtime, some quiet time, so you can hear your higher guidance. Cancer. Cancer. So the moon is your planet, and this week we are in a balsamic moon up until Friday, November 1st. Balsamic moon means that we are in the last few days between a new moon. So that's the thing about being a Cancer, is that you're ruled by, or Cancer rising, you're ruled by the moon. You have these ebbs and flows, and that's just a part of the expression of the sign. So when the moon is in the balsamic phase, you may be lower energy. It's time to rest. It's not time to start anything new or to rush forward. It's time to listen to your intuition and to be in that sort of letting go of an old cycle so you can prepare for a new cycle. The Scorpio new moon, it's a fellow water sign. So you're a water sign, Cancer, and Scorpio is a water sign. So it touches into these themes around emotions, emotional connection, emotional safety and stability and security, trust, power, control, all the things that happen on an emotional level. Scorpio is something called your fifth sign, so it does cultivate over the next 4 weeks and throughout November themes about identity. Who are you, Cancer? And I realize identity, it's like not tangible, it's not quantifiable. And certainly it's a conversation that I have had with a lot of clients. Identity, you feel it when you are doing the things that you love, the things that light you up and give you joy. And we don't always think about Scorpio and like light me up and give me joy. It's not that kind of sign, but it is that sign for you. So it's to make time and space for the things that you love this lunar month, to do the things that renew you, that actually connect to that deeper emotionality that you are known for. as a Cancer. With the Mars opposite Pluto, this is what I was talking about in the introduction, it is between Cancer and Capricorn, and that's you. Cancer, you are wrapping up a 16-year chapter. Yes, you heard me correctly, 16 years of doing a lot of deep work on relationships. Capricorn is your relationship sign. Since January of 2008, Pluto has been in this space. And we've been talking about this over the years, and certainly with Pluto leaving the space between 2023 and earlier this year to really reflect on the gains, I hope, the gains that you have made in a lot of this inner work about how you connect with people. That's the thing about relationships, is sometimes we can sacrifice who we are. So maybe with that Pluto opposition to Mars, Mars is in Cancer, you're a Cancer, it's to really stand your ground. It's really to not just be in the head knowing, but the heart knowing, and like the physicality of who you are, and to express that with no, don't limit it. So there's a lot of alchemy in this new moon for you, again, to really prioritize the things that light you up and give you joy, and to not sacrifice yourself. Of course, relationships are give and take, but don't let something completely take from you. Leo, so the sun is your planet. So every month, every zodiac month, the sun goes into a new sign. And you have this opportunity in a way to try on other clothes. So since the sun's arrival in Scorpio on October 22nd, you've been trying on Scorpio clothes. You've been in the Scorpio closet. Maybe your wardrobe has gotten a little darker hued. But that said, Scorpio is your sign of home and family. It forms the base and foundation of your astrology. So when the sun goes into Scorpio, you are in a period to go within, to spend time at home, to spend time with your inner circle, whether that's family, whether that's the people who are like family, and to be in that sort of homebody space. With a Scorpio new moon here, it says that family, your home, and I mean your living situation, your household, who lives with you, who doesn't live with you, will be a major focus into the start of December. Over the next 4 weeks, those may be major themes for you. And for some of you, maybe you're planning for a move. Maybe you are thinking, okay, where is home and who is home? Maybe you need to prioritize a family member. Maybe a family member is getting older, whether it's your parents or something else. Maybe you're thinking about starting a family, for example. So with that Scorpio new moon, it is pulling on the energies of Mars and Pluto. You've got Mars in the sign, what's called your 12th sign. So there is something in this new moon period about transitions, endings. I know everybody doesn't like that word endings, but unfortunately it's just part of life, the cycle of life, and a need to look deep within, because the 12th isn't our physical life. It's our spiritual life. And whether that means you need to see something from a higher perspective, to cultivate a deeper spirituality, or to sometimes forgive a family member, or to let go of something. Of course, everything is different, depending on who you are. And with Mars opposite Pluto, it gets into these sort of themes between heaven and earth. Pluto is in your 6th sign. It talks about the end of this 16-year chapter, where you need to make some big changes in how you live your day-to-day life, whether that's health, whether that's diet, fitness, nutrition, whether that's wellness, whether that's organization, whether that's work and projects, and really to change your relationship with incarnation. I know that's kind of a strange way of saying that, but sometimes we don't want to be here. I get it. So there's this need to really make a big structural change on an emotional level that may get to things that touch on very deep childhood stuff, ancestral stuff, or things that have a deep memory. But that's, again, you will see how this is relevant for you, Leo. Virgo, Mercury is your planet, and this week it's wrapping up its time in Scorpio. So for you, Virgo, Scorpio is gosh, I have to do the math. It's your 3rd sign. It's the sign of voice and communication, how you think and listen and learn. So on a very nuts and bolts level, the past few weeks have been a time to really focus on how you speak, how you communicate. And I will say that Scorpio typically does not sugarcoat. So maybe you've needed to say things very bluntly, or maybe conversations have really gotten to more of a deeper emotional heart. Also, this is my joke about Virgo, is that you're a secret Scorpio. So Mercury in Scorpio has brought up these themes about power and control. How do you let go of power? How do you let things flow? Not always what not always what Virgo typically does, because Virgo is a planner. And so maybe the past couple of weeks have also been a big focus on planning. Now enter the new moon. The new moon will be on the 1st of November. And it will again be in your third sign, voice, communication, how you think and listen and learn. So over the next 4 weeks, because that's the duration of a lunar month, this is a time for you to focus on whether it's travel, trips, exploration, voice, and need to say something, speak something, write something, teach something, because the third is also a space of education, whether you are taking classes, reading things, or perhaps you are the teacher yourself. Scorpio is the natural investigator, so it continues this theme that Mercury and Scorpio initiated to really investigate and get to the bottom of something. I will say this week, I think it's on Wednesday, the 30th of October, Mercury does oppose Uranus. So there is this energy that sort of is I think, getting you into the Scorpio new moon season where something needs to change, how you think, how you listen, how you learn, how you communicate. And it's for you to see how that is relevant for your life. Oh, I will add Virgo, Mercury again goes into Sagittarius in the 2nd. So we'll talk more about this next week, but it's the weekend where Sagittarius is something called your 4th sign, home and family, roots and foundation. A little bit more of a homebody placement for you, but Mercury also in Sagittarius is a fire sign, takes you out of that water energy of Scorpio and into a sign that's about illumination, discovery. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? Talking about what you believe in and what you stand for. So this will take you into the beginning of November. Libra. Libra, Venus is your planet and it's in Sagittarius still. So for you, Libra, Sagittarius is something called your third sign. When there's an emphasis on the third sign, it says that your life very likely is very busy. It's a lot of ideas, information, communication, travel, exploration. Maybe you have errands to run. Maybe you're just kind of having conversations left and right, or people are sort of asking you things. But it's also a season for curiosity. It's to take classes, it's to read, it's to learn things, and that's going to be one of the major focal points at the moment. But as we speak, because the aspect is today, October 28th, Venus is squaring Saturn, and that energy actually takes you throughout the week, because we do have a Libra new moon Tuesday, Wednesday, Libra moon, not new moon, Libra moon Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Saturn energy is also saying to Libra that this is the time to make a decision. It's a time to get serious. It's a time to put things in order. You do have Saturn in your 6th sign. It's been there since 2023, so March of 2023. And the 6th sign is also a place of health and wellness. So maybe some of these decisions are health and wellness related. But there is between the 3rd and the 6th a need to put things in order, to look at the moving parts of things, to gain new information, to help you to organize, and also to critically think. Again, also health and wellness and service to other people. With the Saturn energy, something is being asked of you this week to make a commitment, to take something seriously, to step into a more of a quote-unquote parental role, or a role of responsibility, because that's the kind of energy that Saturn is. So not a little bit of a light and fluffy week for you. Got Saturn sort of, kind of looking over your shoulder. So with that energy, just use it in the way that suits you the best. That said, Scorpio is your 2nd sign. So we have left your season as of October 22nd, and now the focus is on your 2nd sign of money, income, material stability, and security. So on a very surface level, this is a time where you're thinking about, what do you own? What do you need on a material level? What do you value on a material level? It could be income related, Maybe you are making investments. Maybe you are thinking about the future. Certainly Scorpio and its opposite sign of Taurus. And I think it's the 15th of November, we'll have a Taurus full moon. This is a time to look at money, assets, property, and finances. And for some Libras, it is also about self-worth. And maybe with the energy of Venus and Saturn needing to get very clear about something that might be taking away from your value. For example, we are still in the ripple of the Libra solar eclipse. Again, that Libra solar eclipse, your sign, October 2nd. This will play out over the next 6 months, and this probably in this case 5 months. And this Saturn square ripples back to that new moon and the new beginnings and the energies that were planted on October 2nd, give or take. That said, with this Scorpio new moon, it does play off of Mars and Saturn. So this is a dynamic powerhouse opposition for you. You have Mars in your career sign, and Mars is about motivation and power and ambition and really getting busy in your professional life, maybe taking on more responsibilities. But then there's Pluto at the bottom of your chart. And it's been there since 2008. You've had to do a lot of inner work and transformation around home and family, roots, foundation. And so this is the last time Mars will be opposite Pluto between Capricorn and Cancer in your lifetime. So there is something about coming to the end of something to really capitalize on a lot of the big work that you've done and to really push yourself more out into the world. Scorpio. Scorpio, happy birthday, Scorpio. If your birthday is on that new moon, plus or minus a couple of days, it's a big new year for you. We don't always have new moons with the birthday. Sometimes it's the full moon, sometimes it's something else. But this energy takes you into your personal new year. Regardless if you're born on the 1st of November, this is a time of reset and new beginnings for the Scorpio season. So the sun in Scorpio, it's not just your birthday, the sun has returned to the same part of the sky that it was when you were born. It's a restart and a refresh of your personal year. It's like Libra season is the end of your personal year, and the end of Libra season is like your New Year's Eve. The sun crosses into Scorpio, then it's your new year. You could say the new year is also your birthday. Celebrate both, for example. So this new moon is not just a new moon of new beginnings for your personal year. It's also a new moon with Mars opposite Pluto. That is a big, powerful combination for you because don't forget, Scorpio, you are ruled by Mars. So your energy right now is pointing towards Mars and Cancer. Cancer is your 9th sign. So the 9th sign is, what do I believe in? What do I stand for? What do I think is true? It's also faith, truth, meaning, it's wisdom and knowledge, and any Scorpio worth their whatever knows that wisdom and knowledge comes from all that deep inner work that we do typically as Scorpios. So after everything that you've been through, after everything that you've learned, what does it mean? What do you stand for? How are you going to share it with the world? Because that's the thing about wisdom and knowledge, is that it needs to be shared. We can't hold on to it. It's how the world benefits. It's even how we, in a roundabout way, benefit as well. So the question that doesn't have an answer right now, Scorpio, is how are you sharing? How are you teaching? How are you inspiring other people based on the things that you have discovered? Mars opposite Pluto. Pluto is in your 3rd sign, voice and communication. It has been there since January 2008. Think all the way back, Scorpio, January 2008. And your voice is not just your ability to produce sounds and words and hopefully to be understood. It's the ability to put the full force of you and the full power of you into those words. Is to live in those words so that people can hear you. So this energy of new beginnings is also really pushing your voice out into the world. So whether you are teaching something, writing a book and publishing it, getting on a soapbox, whatever it is, it's for you to really stand in the power of a lot of the deep work that you've done around voice and communication, and to take your mind seriously over the last, 16 years. So there you go, Scorpio. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, so Jupiter is your planet. Think about it for a second. Jupiter is your planet, and it's been in Gemini since May of 2024. And I don't know where my brain is. And I actually was at a party this weekend, and somebody was like, what do you think about Jupiter and Gemini? I was like, well, Jupiter is your planet, and so it's pulling the energy of you continued into May of 2025, because that's the duration that Jupiter will be in Gemini, and it's about relationships. Gemini is your relationship sign. The second half of 2024 is different than the first because it's giving you a lot of movement, and it's not a time to be isolated. It's time for relationship and partnership in all forms. You continue to have Saturn at the very base and foundation of your chart since March of 2023. And this has been a time to really continue to answer the question, where is home and who is home? Between the 4th and the 7th, which is where Jupiter is, the 4th is where Saturn is. These two parts of the chart are about other people, meaning life isn't about just you. It's about not just your needs, but how do you connect with other people? How do you build trust? How do you build connection? How do you build relationship? How do you build family? I realize these are big questions, just something to reflect on. But there you go. But with the Sagittarius, Jupiter is in that square even into 2025 with Saturn. So this continues to be a time that's about personal milestones and serious decisions, and really building the next chapter of your life. That said, Scorpio is your 12th sign. The 12th sign is the end of your personal calendar. So this is the last 4 weeks before your season. It means you've reached the end of a time where you need to begin to reflect on the year that you've been through. What have you learned? What have you discovered? Am I completely crazy when I say that the second half of the year is different than the first? Like, no, it's the same. With the sun in the 12th, it's also a time to focus on your spiritual life. What do you like? What is meaning and purpose for you? How do you give that time to meditate, to reflect, to seek on a deeper level truth and meaning for your life? And this will prepare you for, when we do have that Sagittarius new moon in the beginning of December, and that is the beginning of your personal year. But the Scorpio moon is hitting on something very deep, and that's the thing about Scorpio for you, Sag, is that it represents sometimes your blind spots and things that you can't see, and it's pulling at that Mars opposite, Pluto. Go back, because Pluto has been in Capricorn, your money sign, since January of 2008. And it's not just the money in your bank account, but it's your relationship with the material world. What do you value? What do you need? Mars opposite Pluto is getting into really deep, because Mars is over in your 8th sign, is to really turn the lens on you, to look at themes about trust and power, control, intimacy, self-worth, safety and stability, and how that is connected to your material life. So it's a big new moon, and one that on some level it's to shed something in preparation for that Sagittarius new moon to come on I think it's the 1st of December. Yes, December 1st. Capricorn, Saturn is your planet. You hear me say every week. And so it's still in Pisces. So this continues to be a time to prioritize education, travel, movement, curiosity, discovery, and also to take your voice seriously, whether that means to take seriously the words that come out of your mouth, whether that's seriously how you inhabit what you have to say, or the intelligence that you have to teach, to share, whether you are taking the classes or whether you're teaching the classes. The third also continues to talk about a choice. And this is a big period in your life, because it's every 3 years. That's the time that Saturn will spend in one zodiac sign. It's to weigh your options. It's to see things from 2 different perspectives. Life is about duality. No more do we see that with Scorpio season. And with the Saturn in the third is to sort of look at things from both ways. So you will eventually, when Saturn leaves the third, starting in 2025, but really at the beginning of 2026, you can make these decisions on which way to go, up or down, yes or no, left or right, with the information that you need. That said, Scorpio is something called your 11th sign. And so when we get to the 11th sign, we are starting to get to the end of your personal zodiac calendar. The 11th is, on one level, it's about friends, community. It's your social circle. It's a sense of belonging. It's even something, these bigger themes around social issues, social causes, and also looking ahead towards the future. And so this new moon on some level says, okay, over the next 4 weeks, it's to spend more time with your friends, to build community, to find the people who are your people. We all, on some level, are looking for our people. And also it's to build themes of trust, to find people that we can trust, people that we really, truly value. Because the thing about Scorpio is that it doesn't really like, kind of surface friendships, wants, really deeper friendships. And then getting into these questions about the future. So to use this new moon to look ahead. What do I want for the next personal year when the sun goes into Capricorn? You can do with the new moon, you can write down a list of manifestation, you can sort of vision, you can create a manifestation board. It's not about manifesting, it's just about creating a vision for the future, even if that vision is malleable. So that said, this new moon is playing off the Mars-Pluto opposition. This is actually a big one because this new moon, Pluto is in Capricorn. And because I was a party this weekend, I was talking to a Capricorn. She's like, I can't wait for Pluto to get out of Capricorn. Pluto has been in Capricorn since January of 2008. And this has been 16 years, Capricorn, of you needing to make some major changes in your life. To give you some context, this is the only time in your life that Pluto will be in Capricorn. So this was the time, this is the way that I see it, maybe you see it differently. This is the time that your soul needed to do this work. You're like, nope, don't want it. But it's the thing. Pluto is wrapping up its time in Capricorn. And it's to hopefully live the Dharma, live what you have discovered, live what's changed. And because that will take you into the next big chapter with Pluto and Aquarius, another conversation for another time. So Mars is in Cancer, relationships. So this new moon is about relationships and connection, but it's also about, like I said, friendships and community and the relationships that you have with other people and how something has needed to change. This new moon is also, a bit provocative, I have to say. So really sit with what's coming up for you, because maybe it's that last pull of the onion layer of the work that you've been doing all the way since 2008. Aquarius, so Saturn is your planet. It's still in your second sign of money and income. I know I keep saying that every week. And it's a 3-year chapter. I know, so it's not like you're a Gemini and Mercury breezes through a sign in 2 to 3 weeks, but it just happens to be that you're ruled by Saturn. Saturn takes 3 years to go through a sign. So every week is to continually build something about your material life. Now, this is not about materialism. This is about creating structure, stability, to look at value and worth and, what do you need? We're all humans. We need a roof over our head. We need some sort of money, currency. We need resources. We need to feel safe. We need to feel secure. We need to feel like we can sort of put down, our roots someplace. But everybody, is going to have sort of different variations on that. So that's sort of getting to the heart and the root of something. And maybe what you value is different than what another Aquarius values. But this continues to be a time to look at material life. So whether that's to build your material life, to make purchases and investments, whether that's to be, oh shoot, like I need to kind of create more resource and more income, or maybe it's just looking more inwardly at value and worth. That said, Scorpio new moon is a big new moon for you because Scorpio represents the highest reaches of your personal astrology chart. So the highest reaches of your astrology chart talk about your external life, your outer world, the title after your name, the role that you play, and how the world typically sees you. So on a very surface level, this new moon gives you a restart, a renewal in your professional life. Over the next 4 weeks, you may see changes in your professional life, whether you want to get a new job, whether you want to receive some recognition, whether you want to start a new leaf in your professional life. But certainly that's one of the major areas where you're going to see a lot of activity over the next 4 weeks. Mars, as the ruler of your professional life, it's in Cancer, and Cancer for you is your what's called your your sixth sign. So there's actually a lot of work and projects that are being very highlighted over the next 4 weeks. Clean things out, use that Scorpio energy to clean things out, use that Scorpio energy to really return to a project, or to even with that's the thing, Mars is opposite Pluto. Pluto is in your 12th, and this is wrapping up a chapter that has taken, since 2008. And that's the thing, Pluto has been in a space for you that's not as apparent as it is for other signs, because anything in the 12th is on some level in our unconscious. It's in our blind spot. It's outside this world. So you've been doing a lot of inner work. And this is going to be different for every Aquarius. This could be very spiritual last 15, 16 years. This could be a time where you've needed to really come to the end of some sort of personal chapter. But with the Mars opposite Pluto, it does talk about the balance between heaven and earth. It talks about the relationship between our physical, earthly lives and even the relationship with our non-physical, non-earthly spiritual lives. It's a need to look at health, physical health, spiritual health, and to find the balance between the two. And on some level, with the energy with opposite Pluto and Capricorn, with the energies of your professional life, your public life, it is the need to come to the end of some sort of chapter, all in preparation for Pluto's return to Aquarius on November 19th, where it will be for the next 20 years. And that's the thing, Aquarius, you are at the midst of a major shift in your life, which we will talk about more later. Finally, Pisces. Pisces, so Jupiter is your planet, and Jupiter is in Gemini, and Gemini forms the base and foundation of your chart. So this is just your friendly reminder that this continues to be over the next months going into May of 2025 to focus on your home life, your household, your family, to move, to make changes in your household, to start a family. That continues to be a major focus. Even if you do not have kids, maybe it's to create a relationship with your parents, to fix things, to work on things, or maybe it's to not work on things. That's the part where it's going to be very relevant to your own life. Saturn continues to be in Pisces. In fact, we'll talk about this more in November, but Saturn will turn direct on November 15th. So that energy with Saturn will build. And so it continues to be a time where a lot is being asked of you, more responsibility, more duties, and need to really stay on your own 2 feet, to take command and to take the lead in your life. That said, Scorpio, and this Scorpio new moon that we're having is in something called your 9th sign. The 9th sign is a little bit hard to quantify the 9th because it's not career, it's not, relationships, it's not health. It's what you believe in. It's what you stand for. And we need the 9th because the 9th makes our world bigger. Meaning if we only stayed in our small little box, we never learned anything, we never discovered anything, we never got curious, we never looked up and maybe questioned our lives and wanted more, then we would have no 9th, because the 9th says we need answers. And sometimes those answers are in another culture, another country, they're in a book, they're in a religion, they're in a philosophy, because these are the things that help us to make our world bigger, whatever is relevant to you. And on some level, the 9th is to cultivate what we believe in and what we stand for, matters of faith, leaps of faith, but also a need to travel. And maybe with this new moon, Pisces, you are looking at some major travel plans. However, this new moon is making a big focus on that Mars opposite Pluto. So you've got Mars in Cancer. Cancer is what's called your fifth sign. The fifth sign gets into questions about who are you? Like, how do you prioritize the things that light you up and give you joy, and to really take action to cultivate these things in your life. It also talks about personality and identity. Mars opposite Pluto. Well, Pluto has been in your 11th sign since 2008. And the 11th, like, that's the thing about the later signs, 9, 10, and 11, and even 12. These are not personal parts of your astrology. These are about the things like on an abstract, outside of us level. Again, what we believe and what we stand for, our role in the world, our career. The 11th is our friends, it's our community, it's our sense of belonging to something bigger, and it's even looking towards the future. So Pluto there has maybe made some big changes over the last 15 years in your social circle, or your sense of belonging, or your relationship with the world. That's the thing, it's a little bit hard to quantify because it's such kind of an abstract theme, but a need to really find your place in the world. And so maybe with this opposition, it really gets into these themes of like, well, who am I versus like how I can be me in the world, or, you know, do people understand who I am? But that's the thing, and you'll have to see how it's relevant in your own life. But it's not a new moon that's big like some of the other signs, but it's really getting into these bigger questions about meaning and faith and trying to make sense of things. So there you go. That is your look at the astrology of October 28th through November 3rd, 2024. So yes, we're in Scorpio season, and we'll continue to talk about Scorpio, my sign, by the way, because it's people are asking when my birthday is. It's not till the end of Scorpio, so I'm November 17th. And but yeah, we'll talk about Mars and Leo next week. We'll talk about a little bit more of Mercury and Sagittarius, and sort of seeing how these Mars and Pluto energies are continuing to play out. So there you go. I appreciate you all. And for those that, you can go to my website, empoweringastrology.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. And you can also book a consultation with me, because I know some of you are actually my clients. So it's good to see you all. And I will see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.